Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Urban Voice podcast. Today, I'm excited to introduce a guest that plays a major role in shaping the next generation of early childhood educators. She's a lead trainer and CDA instructor who not only teaches but inspires, encourages, and empowers adult learners as they grow in the field. She guides the CDA candidates through the CDA process. She is the go-to resource for educators who want to elevate their craft and practice. So grab a snack and let's get into it. So please welcome Doris Ervin to the podcast.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Doris Ervin. I'm affectionately known as Tony in my community. I have been in the early childhood education field for about 34 years, as old as my son is. I had my first degree in business administration and I worked on Wall Street, but after I had a child, I knew I couldn't keep those types of hours, so I started working in the school system and then went back to school to get my master's in education.
Okay. So what originally inspired you to become a trainer and CDA instructor?
Okay. Well, like I said, after I got the master's and I was working in the school system, I was in private schools, and then I started working in the public school system and had my master's in early childhood education. Being in the classroom was a lot of fun, but I knew having my master's, I could get out of the classroom and be more significant, I guess, in molding the adult learners and not just the children. So I started consulting, and one day I really got started here at Urban League because they had a second chance high school program years ago when they first started the Jersey City Community Charter School, and we had the second chance program, and I met this woman named Lois Carter. And when I met Miss Carter, and she knew I had an early childhood education background, she kept saying, "Why are you in there with them kids, with that second chance program? You need to be working with the babies and educating and training." And so I started doing trainings for Urban League, volunteering and assisting Miss Carter at the time. And there was a program in Newark that needed a CDA instructor through the Office of Children, and Miss Carter was part of that program, and she asked if I would participate, and I started doing the CDA in Newark for the Office of Children with Miss Carter.
Okay. So what is the biggest misconception people have about early childhood educators?
The biggest one is that they think we are babysitters, that we're just taking care of children. People are just sitting there and just watching children while children just run all over and do things. However, we are educators. We are training them to prepare children for their futures.
Okay. So if someone sat in your class once in one of your trainings, what would they notice about your style?
Oh, wow. I enjoy having fun. I try to make learning tangible, something that they can actually take back to the classroom. I make it a point to not only teach the necessary information, but also make it relevant to what they're doing in the classroom. So I try to make sure that it's an experience that they may have gone through, or try to show them if they're gonna go through that. There are protocols and theories that are set behind it that can help them through those situations.
Okay. So while teaching, what was your favorite aha moment that you've seen in some of the CDA candidates?
Well, CDA, because it is actually an international credential, and it is kind of a rigorous study. Most of the students, when they come in, they're very afraid. They're taking it because it's a requirement for their jobs. So a lot of them come, they're kind of reluctant, they're kind of fearful, but when they come and they start doing the training, and I try to make it very tangible, make it where they can see their achievement, and showing them that this is not hard, it's something you're doing every day, but now you're just putting the theory behind it. and to see them go through that process and to get over that fear.
Okay, can you share a memorable or a funny story that you had while training adults?
Oh, wow. So many of them. Adults are more funnier than children, actually. But I think because we do CDA, we're in class for, the training lasts about 10 months. The best thing that I find that happens there is that because we have so many people that come from all different nationalities and cultures and backgrounds, and being that we're together weekly for 10 months, everyone becomes very good friends. And people who would have never met a certain person or a certain culture or interacted, they become close friends and they learn about each other's cultures. And it even helps us in the classrooms because when we say things about children, about a culture and how, or they see something happening, and then someone from that culture can explain what's going on. Because when you're not from that culture or you don't understand it, there are things that people are doing, but it's strictly cultural and it comes from what they're used to. And we when you don't understand as the teacher, you're judging it, and you learn not to judge, that as we tend to do when we deal with different cultures.
That's funny you said that because I worked in Head Start for a few years, and there was a child that was Jamaican, and she said, "My father burned me with pennies." So the first instinct for the teacher's like, "Oh, we gotta call typhus." But then it was like, they burned the penny and then put it on her after it cools off, of course. But they were thinking that he was putting the hot pennies. That's why I say it's really important that you understand culture. Mm-hmm. So what part of the CDA journey usually stress you out the most?
Sometimes the students, because their reluctance to do their work, they have to complete a portfolio, which is a heavy, strong part of their assessment process. So just getting them to write their essays, because they do have a lot of writing, to make sure they write their essays and compile their portfolio has been the hardest part. And, just making sure that they get it done. Because they're just like children, they don't want to do their homework. They don't want to do the extra work. And, sometimes it's like I have to yell at them like I do children. Like teachers have to get on their students.
So how do you help them find the calm?
Making jokes, making light of the situation, but also referring to them, because they are working with children now, that you're doing this right now. It's just putting words on paper to what you're doing, and just making sure that, you understand you do it every day and you're doing it good and the parents love you. So why is this so hard right now?
So how has the early childhood world changed since you started in the field?
The change has been where parents, well, I'll say not just the parents, but society is seeing that early education is necessary, that it is a career. It is a career choice. It's just not, like I said before, babysitting and people just sitting in a room with kids and they're just running amok. Now, there are more programs. We have that universal pre-K and those programs that the state has now adapted. We had Abbott in New Jersey. So they're seeing the importance. Studies have shown, back in the 70s, how important early education was, but no one took it seriously. But now it seems like our governments are taking it more serious, showing it the school readiness and making sure that children succeed.
So what is one skill as a CDA instructor that you think you have that you can't, or you think you need that you can't get from a textbook?
I think it's the joy of early education, just being in there with the children. The early education, unfortunately, since it's just kind of in its earliest stages, people aren't being paid for the way they should be paid for what they're doing. And we see that that's been the age-old cry for teachers in general. And in early education, it's even worse because these people are there. When we had COVID and the shutdown, we realized that having these teachers and somewhere for the children to go was majorly important because people can't go to work. And it's not just that they go to work, but we're building lifelong learners. And it's a significant foundation.
What is your go-to activity or icebreaker that you use to get them talking and building that rapport with each other?
I did one icebreaker when I was in college. And it was, you introduce yourself to the person next to you. The two of you just talk. And then in the class, I'll have that person introduce you to the class. And it always seems to get them to talk because it was just two people, and then they get to learn each other and make some kind of a relationship, and it just brings the other person in.
Okay, so what is a challenge that you faced that taught you something important?
In the early childhood field?
Yes.
The challenge.
Or as a lead trainer itself.
Oh, okay. I think the biggest challenge is just making sure that they understand that they can do this. Most early educators are people that have been in the classroom with children for years, so they haven't been in formal school. So getting them back into readings, and because CDA is once you graduate from high school, and you've graduated from high school and you haven't gone to school in 20 years, now you have to get back into the reading, writing, and I think that's the biggest challenge, is building them up their self-esteem to know that they're able to do this.
Okay, all right. So if you could wave a magic wand, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So for the viewers out there that's listening and they would like to get their CDA, what would be your best piece of advice?
To get their CDA, they first have to be hired in a child care center. Or work on getting volunteered. They need that on-site experience, because then with the CDA, they're taking you through the education process while you are working with children. So you have examples, you know what to do, and then they go hand in hand together. So working in a center would probably be the first thing.
So what fuels you personally? Like, what keeps you passionate about training and coaching teachers?
The moments when, like, the teachers have those aha moments, it's the same to me like the children. When you see that they're learning from you, or you're actually reaching them with new information, and then that they are broadening their experiences and understanding.
All right, so what is the next step for you? Like, any new projects, any new goals, any dreams that you're excited about?
Well, we got a new CDA class coming up. We have our new calendar for Urban League. Not only do I do the CDA training, however, we do the growing brain and various topics that affect the early childhood classroom. So every November, we start a new calendar until August. So I'm excited about that. And then trying new things to get more people to participate in the trainings, to get them out to learn and understand. And not only do I think I give information to them, but I learn from the teachers, because then now I know what's out there, what they're experiencing, and what the children are experiencing. Because the key thing is to make sure that whatever we do is going to benefit the children the most, because we want to keep them and develop lifelong learners and have them success in life.
Okay, so if you could leave our listeners with one message about the importance of investing in early childhood education, what would it be?
The investment in early education is that you're building lifelong learners. You're beginning that foundation of education for young children. This will affect that child's life. I believe and know in my heart that education is the key to remove children from poverty. So if they're successful in school and they can work in a social setting and they can get the jobs or start careers, and it starts with this great foundation in early education, and it can follow them throughout their life. And studies have shown that this is true.
Okay, so I want to thank you so much for participating in our podcast today,
Thank you for
and we
having
hope to
me.
see you guys again soon.